Mm. Well, guys, so today is the final session, I believe, before your assignment starts. So today will be a discussion between you guys and me, about the assignment and the brief. I'll go through the assignment brief intro and also the unit introduction to this computer mathematics, and it's a good opportunity for you guys to ask any questions, any doubts, anything you have, as this will be the last session before you get to do your exam. I mean your assignment. So definitely, if you have any questions, any queries, any trouble, please let me know. Please ask me in this session because this is probably your last opportunity for that before you go on to do your exam. Um, but yeah, let's get cracking with this assignment brief. And then we'll go through the introduction brief, introduction PDF. And after that, if you got any questions, or even if you got any questions in between, please ask me. And yeah, so for this assignment brief, there's 10 credits. And as you can see, the scenarios below, you work as a software developer in an ICT development company. You have been asked to be a mentor for a new apprentice joining the organization. You will share your knowledge of computing with the new staff member, allowing them to develop their skills. The apprentice will be working in the software development team and needs to have a sound knowledge in computing mathematics in order to assist and understand a range of software development projects. Your manager has asked that you share your knowledge of computing mathematics with the apprentice, producing materials and helping assist with problem-solving techniques. So, task one is to create a presentation. You must produce a presentation using the presentation software such as PowerPoint to show your understanding of mathematics and computing. The presentation will be delivered to the new apprentice who has joined the team. The presentation should explain how mathematics is used for computing, describe the types of mathematics used for computer programming, describe approaches to problem solving, explain the terms variable, explain the terms variable, constant, causal factor path. Explain the use of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division within formulas. Explain the functions and equations used for formulas. Describe how mathematical logic is used for computing. Explain how Boolean logic is used. Explain the logic gates used in calculation. Describe arithmetic and relational operators. Describe the use of truth tables. Explain probability theory and concepts. Explain probability formulas used for computing. Explain how binary is used in computing. And explain how hexadecimal numbers are also used in computing. So, as you can see, this presentation basically covers all the 6 lessons that we have covered in the past 3 weeks. So, all of these are the fundamental concepts of computing, and it just wants you to basically create a presentation and explain all of these factors. So for me, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now 15 is a lot, and you always want your presentation to be about. I don't know if this guidance has something different. We'll carry on reading and find out. But You want it to be about 10 minutes, not longer than 10 minutes, 10 to 15 max, or even 15 is pushing it. So you ideally probably want one, obviously an introduction, and then one slide for each of these points, which after you do the conclusion and finish it off. But yeah, that's one part, and that's probably the easiest part. The hardest part is now how you present that because you can't just be reading off the slide. It's key that you engage your audience. They are engaged with you, so you have to keep them engaged and speak to them and kind of like you make them feel that they're involved in this as well. But yeah, we'll carry on reading and see if this says any different. So to gain a merit extension activity, to gain a merit grade, you must also assess the benefits of mathematics and computing and analyze the difference between binary decimal and hexadecimal numbers. Now, that is 2 points that you need to add, probably like extras to gain a merit grade. So, of course, first you need to kind of do these and make sure that all of these are included. And then, yes, by all means, please go to this and have a go if you can at these. So, to gain a distinction grade, you must also evaluate the importance of understanding mathematics in computing. Of course, I imagine this is your guys' target, so by all means, you do need to do these, but the key is to focus on all of these 15 points, and then also, yes, add all of these extension activities so that you have the chance of getting the best possible mark. So it tells you here that in lesson one, what we have covered, in lesson two, what we have covered, lesson three, lesson four, lesson five and lesson six. So, yeah, now moving on to task two. If you got any questions of each task, please ask me. Like I've said, please stop me, ask me in between or even at the end if you feel comfortable. But yeah, task two. Your manager has tasked you with showing the apprentice how to perform a range of calculations and activities. Your organization has seen a decrease in sales in the last 12 months, but has had an increase in the number of staff joining the organization. Carry out a root cause analysis showing your calculations. Provide examples of using problem-solving techniques to solve a range of computing problems, and provide examples of use of algebra to solve computing equations. Now, extension activities to gain a merit, to gain a merit grade, you must also, in a separate document, assess how constants and variables affect data statistics. So this is focusing on lesson two and lesson three, as said below. Um, and yeah, so you've been tasked to perform a range of calculation of the activities. This is a scenario that's happened. So you need to carry out a root cause analysis showing your calculations, provide examples of techniques, and also provide examples of use of algebra in computing. Um, for lesson two, it's all in lesson two and lesson three. Um, and task three is logic and probability calculations. Now, your manager has asked you to perform the following. Provide examples of the performance of simple calculations with the application of logical expression. Now, part two is to calculate the probability of the following events occurring using mathematics. So That is tossing a coin and it lands on head, tossing a coin and it lands on tail, rolling a 3 on a die, rolling a number greater than 4 on a die. It rains 2 days in a row, drawing a card from a suit from the suit of clubs, guessing a certain number between 000 and 999 lottery. And then the third task is to provide examples of converting decimal numbers into binary numbers. Now, to gain the merit grade, you must also provide examples on the use of mathematical logics and techniques to make informed decisions based on data analysis. Now, to gain a distinction grade, you must also use truth tables to solve Boolean statements and provide examples of converting hexadecimal numbers to binary numbers. All of this, again, is in lesson 4, 5, and 6. This is, again, just to re-emphasize, focusing on probability and logic. Yeah. For all practical examples, you are free to use data of your own choice. For any calculations, you should show your workings and or explain how you have prepared final figures. So this is what the assessors look at and what they want for, so it's kind of a mark scheme. So the assignments submitted by learners must achieve the learning outcomes and meet the standards specified by the assignment criteria for the unit. To achieve a merit or distinction grade, the learners must demonstrate that they have achieved all the criteria set for these grades. Where work for the past standards is marginal, assessors can take account of any extension work completed by the learners. Just as evident listed below is how learners can demonstrate that they have met the required standards. So for task number 1, again, this is covering all lessons. The learner must to get a pass, the learner must provide a professionally designed presentation containing evidence of their understanding of the range of topics provided. This could be aided by the use of diagrams or imagery by any external content, but any external content must be referenced. Presentation should clearly explain the below areas in detail. So explain how mathematics is used in computing. Describe the types of mathematics used for computer programming. Describe approaches to problem solving. Explain the term variable, constant, causal factor path. Explain the use of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division within formulas. Explain the function and equation used for calculation. Describe how mathematical logic is used for computing. Explain how Boolean logic is used. Explain the logic gates used in calculations. Describe arithmetic and relational operators. Describe the use of truth tables, explain probability theory and concept, explain probability formulas used for computing, explain how binary is used in computing, and explain how hexadecimal numbers are used in computing. Now, to get the extra merit, the learners must assess the benefits of mathematics in relation to computing and how the fundamental processes used in mathematics are also used in computing. The learner must analyze the difference between binary, decimal, and hexadecimal numbers and be able to identify each type of number. And for the final additional evidence distinction, the learner must evaluate the importance of understanding mathematics for computing. This should include the ability to problem solve and to enhance knowledge to be able to read and write complex computer coding/programs. So that's for number 1. Now it's important to look at this just to see how you can get the distinction, and how the how the what do you call it, assessors got judge the marks for your assignment. Now, I will find out if you guys are allowed to see this, and if so, I will get this sent over to you just so that you can have this during your assignment. So, task number two, the learner should provide example calculations and should provide a step-by-step approach to evidence their working. Learners may evidence their step-by-step approach differently, and therefore this should be a cross-reference to their answers to ensure a natural flow resulting in their end calculation. The numbers within the calculation carry throughout. Now for the distinction, um, sorry. Now, for the distinction, the learner should assess how constants and variables affect data statistics. For example, constant value is known from the outset and can be used to predict future statistics, whereas a variable can change throughout and therefore a range of data results could be possible. Now, for the final task, to get a distinction, learners must use mathematical logic techniques to make informed decisions based on data analysis. The decision made should be made on the basis of the outcome of the logic technique, and this method should be a support to their overall decision. Learners must provide examples of the truth table of the use of truth tables to solve Boolean statements. The truth table should be complete and clearly show the learner's working and solving clearly show the learner's workings in solving the Boolean statement. For practical example, learners are free to use data of their own choice for any calculations. Learners should show their working and or explain how they have prepared final figures. So, yep, that is the assignment brief, and here's the mark scheme. Like I said, I'll find out if this can be sent over to you, or if you already have it, that's great. And it'll be good to have a look at this whilst you are doing your assignment, just to know how to get the marks, because that was a technique that I used to use, and it really helped for me to get the goal that I wanted to get. Like I explained, the tasks. If you guys have any questions now, please ask me about any task or anything else. If not, we can move on. And or if you want to ask at the end, by all means, you can also ask at the end. But yeah, that's the introduction, and that's the brief. Now we'll have a look at the introductions first. So so this is what the aims of the units was, and what the learning outcomes and what the approaches were for teaching. So now the unit aims for this type of unit that was to provide an overview of the mathematical skills required for computer programming. Learners will develop knowledge and understanding in the areas of mathematics that are used when working with a computing programming language. Unit level is 3, unit code is F61847174, and the GLH is 6, and the credit value is 10. The unit grading is pass, merit, and distinction, as discussed before. The assessment guidance. In order to achieve this unit, learners must produce work which demonstrates achievement of the learning outcomes at the standards provided by the assessment criteria and the completion of assignments in accordance with awarding organization guidance. So, learners' outcome. So, the first one is to understand the relevance of mathematics and computing. To pass, the learner will. The assessment criteria is to explain how mathematics is used in computing, to describe the types of mathematics used for computer programming. For merit, assess the benefits of mathematics and computing, and for a distinction, evaluate the importance of understanding mathematics for computing. So you can see that just for a pass, it's a simple explain, describe, but for merit, you have to go further and start assessing the benefits. And for the distinction, it becomes more difficult in terms of you have to evaluate and analyze the importance and explain this. Um, sorry, guys, just give me one. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so like I said, for distinction, you have to start analyzing, explaining, and evaluating the importance of the understanding of mathematics, computing, of understanding mathematics, computing. Now, for lesson two, um, learning outcome was to understand problem solving techniques using computing mathematics, and for past, describe approaches to problem solving, explain the following terms: variable, constant, causal factor paths, carry out a root cause analysis, use problem solving techniques to solve solve for a range of computing problems. For merit, you also need to assess how constants and variables affect data statistics. So you can see the difference that just for a pass, you only had to explain the terms, but for merit, it goes further to start assessing how these terms affect certain data. So yeah, that's the difference. For lesson three, it was to understand basic mathematical formulas for computing mathematics. And for a pass, you need to explain the use of the following within formulas: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and explain the functions and equations used for calculations, and finally use algebra to solve computing equations. Number four, you needed to understand mathematical logic, and for a pass, you need to describe how mathematical logic is used for computing, explain how Boolean logic is used, explain the logic used in calculations, describe arithmetic and relational operators, describe the use of truth tables, perform simple calculations and apply logical expressions, explain probability theory and concepts, explain probability formulas used for computing, calculate the probability of an event occurring using an example. For a merit, you would use mathematical logic techniques to make informed decision based on data analysis. And for a distinction, you need to use the truth tables to solve Boolean statements. So as you can see, again, well, a simple pass is more about describing and explaining. But then when you want to get a merit or a distinction, it becomes you need to use these things that you're explaining and describing to start solving statements and start analyzing and start using these techniques to make decisions, etc., etc. Um, but yeah, and that's already, I also read number five. So, number five, it was understand probability in mathematics. So these are kind of linked together, the mathematical logic and probability. And the final learning objective was to understand binary mathematics. Now, this was to get a pass, you have to explain how binary is used in computing, convert decimal numbers into binary numbers, and explain how hexadecimal numbers are also used in computing. For merit, analyze the difference between binary, decimal, and hexadecimal numbers. And for a distinction, convert hexadecimal numbers to binary numbers. So this is the most difficult. That's why it's in the distinction. And again, remember if we go back to lesson 6 last week, we were provided with hexadecimal table numbers, a chart for what the letters represent and how they are numbered. So make sure that you look into that before you start converting and doing this for the distinction. So the indicative content. So understand the relevance. So for number one, understanding the relevance of mathematics and computing. Mathematics is important for engineering and science, a foundation in logic, critical thinking, and abstract mathematics. It will provide learners with the skills of reading, understanding, and analyzing a problem before deciding on a solution. Types of mathematics include discrete mathematics. For number two, understand problem-solving techniques using computing mathematics. Techniques include read, choose, solve, and check. Learners should develop a generic ability to solve real-life problems and apply mathematics in real-life situations, i.e., computing situations. Learners should be familiar with identifying a variable and constant. Examples examples of these in real life situations and how these affect data analysis and trend analysis. Learners should understand the importance of considering causal factor paths, and how they would affect data outcomes. Learners should be able to use a root cause analysis approach to solve a problem. For example, the problem, the evidence, the factors, the strategies, and alternative strategies. Learning objective three, understand basic mathematics formulas for computing mathematics. Learners should be able to include addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division within formulas appropriately and use the correct formula. Function and equation should also include the use of sets, subsets, and how x and y are relational within these elements. Learners should be familiar with the following elements of algebra. Numbers including integers and decimals, expressions, equations, operators, and factors. Learning objective four. So Boolean logic, logic gates, including and, or, NAND, not and, nor, not or, XOR, exclusive or, XNOR, which is exclusive, nor, and, not. So learning objective, if you go back, is to understand mathematical logic. And learners should understand the arithmetic operators, that arithmetic operators are used to perform mathematical operations. Relational operators are used to perform comparison operations. Learners should understand the purpose of truth tables and be able to use a truth table to decide if a statement is true or false. Learners should be able to use their knowledge and perform calculations applying the logical expression to solve the problem. Understand probability in mathematics, independent conditional probability, random variable moments, and deviation. Learners should be able to calculate the probability of an event occurring based on the information available. This should be linked back to a computing event. And the final learning objective, which was to understand binary in mathematics. Learners should understand the importance of zero and ones in computing and how these can be converted Learners should be shown real life examples of the numbers being used, and learners should be able to example how decimal hexadecimal numbers are used and identify or construct a hexadecimal number. So that was that in a nutshell. It was a lot of reading, a lot of information to intake. As I said before, I would try and get these documents sent over to you if you already don't have them. Um, Now, if you have any questions for any of the topics, if you want me to go through any of the lessons, if you want me to go through this again, explain to you, go through the assignment brief, please say it now. Please ask me. Don't hesitate. Um, Ask me any questions or whatever. And if not, then all I can say is good luck for your exam. If you need any help, even in the time that you're doing it, please don't feel free to message me. My number is on WhatsApp in the group. Feel free to message the group. Um, and yeah, good luck for you guys in your exam. Please, please let me know now if you have any questions or anything you want to discuss. But yeah, otherwise that is that.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hamza. And we don't have any questions.
No worries, that's great. Um, cool then. I'll let you guys go. It was a shorter lesson today, just a summary. And as I said, good luck in the exam. If you guys need to ask me anything, by all means ask me. And yeah, nice being teaching you these past few weeks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.